Hello and welcome to GlitchCube, we're a gaming podcast, and each week we take a deeper look into the art of video games. As always, I'm Christian.
And I'm Chris.
And bless you, cat. And welcome back, everybody. I don't know if anyone's going to pick that up on the audio, but my cat just scared the crap out of me by sneezing in my face. Hi. Anyway. Here we go. We're going to be talking again this week about some more games and all that good stuff here. And yeah, there's one little topic of gaming or one genre of gaming that gets a lot of flack, and there's been a lot of adjustments to it. And I don't know. It's like kind of like a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with this genre. And I kind of feel bad for it, honestly. But that, of course, is open world games, right? Any kind of game that has an open world aspect to it, it tends to get compared to everything else, but I mean, that comparison is a huge part of gaming anyway when it comes to this stuff. That's where a lot of these fun complaints come from. But particularly with open world games, it's either way too empty or the side quests and things like that don't give enough of a reward to make it worth actually exploring. So, like, yeah, the games that people absolutely love and the sceneries aren't enough to get people excited about side quests, right? Like, I don't know. It just feels like there's a lot of complaining just for the sake of complaining sometimes when it comes to this, or it's like, well, what do you really want, right? And I feel like games like Witcher and things like that really kind of did set a standard for crazy amount of side quests, but not every game studio can do that or wants to do that, right? And not every game needs all of that. And we also don't need a bunch of like Assassin's Creed side quests where it's really just like time trials and stuff. You're not getting much out of that, right? Like there's a fine balance when it comes to these things of how open do you want your open world game to be. And, you know, I just beat Beast of Reincarnation today. And I would say that's kind of like a semi-ish open world game. And I know that a lot of the complaints is that the open world aspect is very linear, which it can be, but it's also a video game, right? Like most games are linear if they have a story to them. But, you know, it's if you want to explore, you can. You don't have to, right? Like the rewards do help. They do make you very powerful by the end of the game if you progress through it and level everything up. But at the same time, it's not going to stop you from enjoying the game if you, right? Like I feel like that's kind of the main problem here. It's a lot of gamers feel like they have to do everything, and that will take them away from the overall pacing of the game too. So then it starts throwing things off or changing the perspective of how well paced a game is or how good a story is, because they're getting these big gaps in time between stories whenever they're getting distracted by a bunch of side quests in an open world game too, right? So there's a lot to kind of dive into this. So yeah, why don't we just jump right in? But we've talked about open world games in the past before, but I feel like we haven't really done it recently. And there's a lot that's changed in the way that games are being presented too. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's, you know, I feel like every few years, the whole idea of open world kind of changes, right? Back in the day when it was a new topic, they tried to make them huge and expansive. You know, I think back to, you know, everyone thinks to like GTA 3 is like, wow, it's like, and it is a wow game, right? Like it's expansive and all that. But like, you know, going back to a previous Rockstar game, Smuggler's Run, sure, the map is pretty empty for the most part, right? It's got little buildings and stuff, but the game has this huge scope to it, right? Anyone that hasn't played it, you know, emulate it, try it out. The game itself is pretty basic, right? You're a car that drives around trying to get to a stop within a certain amount of time. But the thing that really stood out was how big these maps were. And if you drove up to the top of this mountain, you could see so far ahead of you, and you could go there. And they may not sound crazy, but it was a PlayStation 2 game, which
for the time
didn't really have crazy draw distances. And, you know, I think back to that game being like, wow, like you can see it, you can go to it. Like, how crazy is that? And, you know, from then onward, we started seeing more and more games do that, which is cool. You know, it's kind of awesome to be able to go wherever you see in front of you. But as time kind of went on, developers started thinking, oh, we have to fill every little spot with something, right, to make it interesting. And, with GTA, I feel like they almost kind of did it perfectly, where it was like, you would have missions maybe sprinkled around, but it didn't feel like every corner had something on it.
Right.
When you look at a Ubisoft game, right, you look at Assassin's Creed, if you have markers turned on, your whole screen are markers.
You can't
right?
see the
There's
map
like a
anymore.
collectible here. There's, you can't. Like when I played Unity on a while back, it's just your whole map is cluttered with icons. And it's like, as someone who likes to try and find everything, it's kind of like overwhelming, because I'm like, well, I need to get that while I'm running there,
Right.
and it's just, it almost takes it out of the game, the fun approach to it. So I feel like open world games had reached a point where they just became overbearing with junk. And, I feel like Breath of the Wild was the one that kind of changed it, right? Where we got back to a more of a minimalist open world game, which I think, because I played Breath of the Wild day one, and I did not like that minimalist approach to an extent. I kind of like that you were just told to go one place, but you didn't really need to go. But it also felt like there should have been maybe more to the world than what was there. So I was always a little annoyed by
I
that.
never felt the pressure of completing the game, or like, because it keeps talking about this whole thing of like the calamity, right? Ganon's taking over. Basically, it's the whole like end of the world sequence, but then it's okay. You can go do whatever for 100 hours, right? Like, you never really felt the pressure. And I feel like that's one of my biggest problems with the Breath of the Wild games, is that like, there's never really, like, I never felt incentive to beat it unless I just wanted to finish the game. Right. And I don't know. I feel like with a game like that, if you're having this big catastrophe moment looming over the players, there needs to be some sort of sequence there that makes it so that you want to do those things. Like Baldur's Gate 3, right? If you didn't do certain things, like there was timers running in the background, and if you didn't do something before you ended up like going to a different area or completing a different quest that you might not realize is associated with this one, like certain things got locked out, right? Or like people died and stuff. And like that to me made it more interesting to have those like background timers, but it felt like the world was actually alive and moving without you, right? Like with these big open world games that don't really have anything, but you can see the big bad threat at all times, it almost feels like time stops for you, the player, where it's like, don't worry, you can get to it whenever you feel like it.
Yes. I feel like once I went back to Breath of the Wild after some time away from it and playing other open world games, I kind of appreciated that minimal approach, because like you said, like there was always an imminent threat right at the castle, and you're like, well, I guess I gotta get these beasts to point a beam at it and open it up. Right. And the sense of exploration and Breath of the Wild didn't really capture me right away. And honestly, I don't think it really did until I played Tears of the Kingdom, where I really appreciated it, where that game I just loved. There was something about the being able to, be in the sky, be underground, like the exploration just felt really cool. And not really knowing what was around the corner was awesome. So I really appreciated that sense of open world. And, going back to what you said about The Witcher, or even Cyberpunk, it's like those open worlds feel alive, feel special and different, without overwhelming you. Even though there's a lot to do, it's just done right. And I feel like around that time was kind of the peak where a lot of people were finding like great open world methods and ideas, and then we kind of just became stagnant again, right? Nothing really changed too much after that. But then I noticed a lot more games now are going into this way of either having linear zones in between open world, right? So like what Stellar Blade does, to kind of give you that balance of like overwhelming size with smaller little confined spaces, to games that kind of remind me of Final Fantasy 14, right? Where you have these big zones you can run around in, but there's still like a load screen when you reach the end of it to go to another large open area.
Right.
And I'm seeing more games do that. And I think it's just, for size and all that kind of stuff with the game, less things running, which makes it easier to, do stuff with. But as someone who, I don't go out of my way to always play open world games. I do think they're really enjoyable if they're done right and fun, but I'm starting to, I don't know if I like this kind of like zoned map kind of stuff, right? Where it's like a load in screen that goes somewhere else. Cause it kind of just feels like there should be more, like I like that, like in RPGs, right? Like if you go back to older RPGs, it was kind of like, oh, here's this little zone that you go, but it was linear, right? It was a linear little path and you just went on your way. But I don't know, like I feel like there needs to be another change to how big places react. And, I don't see that becoming a thing with GTA 6. I think it's going to be mostly how 5 was, which, it was done well, right?
Yeah.
Like they had it where it wasn't super overbearing. And I feel like with 6, they're probably going to keep it just about the same because you don't really need to add too much to it.
No, they
But I
learned that they
wonder,
can
like,
just add events based off like time, right? Like Christmas or things like that. And like that's enough to make the world change and evolve, which is really clever. I mean, look at how long GTA 5 has been running and loved and played, right? Like it's been a while since we've got a new GTA. And people still really love that. And they keep throwing new events at it where it's like, oh, the ghost hunting event for Halloween or like the peyote thing, right? Like they keep adding new stuff that is using parts of the world that already exist. So like people who've been playing it for a while, they're like, oh man, like I use this hangar all the time. Now it's actually a part of a real big like heist or whatever. Like that's kind of cool, right? Or like I remember when the casino thing dropped. That was pretty interesting because now like there's a casino, but there's a lot of things added on with the casino too, right? Where it's just using the map that's already there and expanding on it, which I think is really clever. So like they did find an interesting way of handling it that way. But with a game that doesn't plan for constant updates the way that GTA does, like how do they handle a captivating open world whenever people are probably only going to play through it once, right? I think that's where it's a little more difficult.
Yeah. I feel like it's like hard to compare because it's always like you can easily look at Ubisoft as being like too much, but I feel like nowadays, like I know there's, the hardcore people out there that want to collect and all that kind of stuff, right? Trophies, collectibles, but I feel like a lot of these bigger games, the more successful ones, are not overwhelming with that stuff, right? It's moderate. It's, more about being in the location. And I think like that was a big reason why I ended up liking Crimson Desert a lot. And, kind of like how you were, we've been talking about Beast of Reincarnation. It was like Crimson Desert was also kind of, crapped on by many people. Yeah. And, I get it. And when it first came out, it was very broken. Even when I played it, which was a few months after it came out, it was fixed, but it still had some bugs to it. I know now it's like pretty well, shaped. Like it's good. They've added a bunch of new content to it, like minor stuff, but it's stuff that helps you collect and do stuff in the game, which is honestly kind of awesome. It's kind of like that No Man's Sky thing where they're just adding free content to a game. Right. But that game, I think, did exploration and open world stuff kind of perfectly, because it didn't litter your map with icons unless you got like info of a place being somewhere. But there was so much stuff like hidden away that it was just kind of fun stumbling on a cave, or, you see something in the distance and you're like, oh, I should go check that out. And that world was just so massive,
Mhm.
especially when you're up in the sky, like the abyss, right? You're up in the sky and you're looking down and you can see all these buildings, you can see all this stuff from up there, and you're like, I want to go there. And you go there and there's just like tons of people there just kind of living their life. And it's a shame that that game, is kind of like, the people that played it and like it really like it, but a lot of people just gave up on it or didn't give it a chance. And I think like if you disregard the story
Mhm.
for the most part and you just want to explore in a really cool game, that game is kind of awesome for it. It's got every biome for the most part. And for me, it's hard nowadays to make me want to go out of my way just to kind of explore and see the world because, time, right? I feel like, oh, I need to get to point A to point B,
Mhm.
maybe see something on the way, but I just want to keep going with the story because there's a lot of other games I want to play and stuff like that. But in this game, it's just like I would get distracted by every little thing that I would see, and it just made the game more enjoyable to the point where I really didn't care about finishing the story. I mean, I ended up finishing it, but it was like after the 100-hour mark, I was like, okay, I need to start progressing the story more. Cause like in the story, I was only maybe about halfway through it at that point because I
Mm,
had just
right.
explored. And I feel like I haven't really felt that way in many games like that. In a JRPG or something where you have that kind of world map and maybe like an icon to go into and load into it, like I always loved exploring those too. But when it comes to games where it's just pure open world where you can explore everything, I feel like sometimes it's just too much, or I feel like it's too repetitive. And I think a lot of games suffer from that, where it's like, yeah, sure, it'll have like 50 different little buildings to do puzzles, but they're all kind of the same on the inside and don't really do too much.
Right.
And when I look at, the last two Zeldas with the shrines, or even back to Crimson Desert with their little like, their version of shrine puzzles and stuff, they were unique enough where I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like I want to keep finding these. I want to keep doing something different. And I don't know. I feel like more games need to kind of do that because it's just makes me want to live in the world. I mean, of course, this is all me, right? Like, this is stuff I want to see. I know other people out there might hate that stuff, or people like what, having tons of things thrown at them. But I don't know. Like, it's just, it's fascinating because I've been playing a lot of games from at least like the PS2 generation to now. And it's so interesting seeing just within the span of like, 20 years, how these kind of games have evolved and changed. And at times it's kind of like, oh man, not much has really changed. But then when you see games with many different systems and many different like interactions with physics, it's like, oh, we have come a long way, but what's next? Where are we going to go from here? Like destructible environments, which I
Mhm.
feel like have been tried before. I know there was that one Red Faction game, I think maybe Gorilla. I think it was on the 360. I remember playing it, and it kind of had these big open world kind of areas to it that you could just destroy buildings in.
Right.
And I always thought, like, man, how do we not have that more in games? And it just made me realize, like, oh, physics are kind of a thing that I feel like aren't super prioritized. Maybe especially like with the Unreal Engine. Like, I feel like because now everyone's doing Unreal 5, I feel like the physics stuff is kind of in the back burner.
Mhm.
And like when you play a game with like a custom engine, it's like, whoa, like these people focused more, like when you think of like the Source engine where it's like physics heavy, it's kind of fascinating how that adds to it. But, I'm not calling for every game to have destructible environments, but I don't know, it'd be cool to play a game where you could really alter everything around you like that. Like, I don't know.
I think the planning that goes into that would be insane, right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
how do you create, especially if you have something that might be a little bit more story focused? Like if the point of the world is just to kind of have like a sandboxy open world, like a Minecraft, yeah, sure. Like go ahead and destroy everything because that's kind of the vibe, right? But like if you're
Mm-hmm.
having a full like story game, like think Crimson Desert, but then you can destroy every building, right? Like it's one of those where, well, how do you set up encounters? You know, or like how can you reuse
Yeah.
assets in the future if maybe there's like some DLC at some castle, but the players already destroyed that castle, so they no longer can do that. Like it's an interesting concept, but I feel like it's a programming nightmare. Or like just a planning nightmare to try and make, if you're trying to do something as far as like a captivating story goes. Right. And actually, to touch on like story one more time when it comes to open world games, there are a lot of RPGs that have open world elements, like, your old school Final Fantasies where there is the open world that you can just kind of walk across. But it's more of like a traversal mechanic where you can walk and then you can get the
Mm-hmm.
boat and then the airship, right? Like it's not really it's part of the game, but not like changing the game. It's just like a kind of like a level select screen, right? That's interactive. That's kind of what open world
Yeah.
was in the past. But I will say that because I know you're playing through them right now, but like the Xenoblade Chronicles, that open world, I don't know. There's something about that version of the open world that never took me away from the story for too long. Like it still felt like you were
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to somewhere, but you could get lost exploring for ages if you really wanted to, because there was something to look at. There were different monsters to fight. There's like elites all over the map, right? Like there's definite challenges and rewards that are everywhere. But that was one game that kept you going in the right direction at the same time, which I think is very interesting. And I'm always curious if like, how did they manage that? Right? Like, how do you have such a big open world, but you still make me care about the story as much as I did? Right. And like, I don't know if you're feeling that as you're playing through these too, but I know that it was a weird
It's
setup for
funny
me.
that you bring that up because I had thought about this subject recently, and like I think it was because I've been playing Xenoblade, and I agree. When I played Xenoblade 1 back in the day, I kind of felt that way too, where I'm like, oh man, these places are massive, but it's not like where it's driving me away from the story. Like it just felt expansive.
Mm-hmm.
And with Xenoblade 2, I'm in chapter 5. So I'm pretty far in, and I've seen quite a bit. And the world, the places are just massive,
Yeah.
man. Like huge. It blows my mind to think like, wow, this was running on a Switch, but now it's running on a Switch too. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
and it's kind of amazing because I really like the way it's done. I know I was just bashing on like, oh, when you have loading screens between different areas, but like in this game, it just kind of works, and it's not like it's like too off-putting, but it's like it felt like these regions were crafted with such care, where it's like, yes, there are little things you can do if you veer off the path a little bit, but it's not distracting enough. It's not necessary. But the path to your next mission is just always has beautiful sights. I think it's done really well, and I'm really enjoying it. Like I really like this game a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to talk about it once I finish it. Hopefully I can finish it soon. But
Yeah. Two's with Pyramithra, right? That storyline.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have the
It's
DLC, so I'm gonna play that after.
that one I thought was very well done. I know that some people are saying like fan servicey game, but it's not. Like I don't know where that came
You
from.
know, yeah, I was thinking about that too, because as I'm playing this, I remember everyone complaining. And I was just like, I mean, there are some characters that have big boobs.
But it's not like
you
it's
know,
being that's like the core focus of it, right? Like when I think fan service, I think like
yeah, it's not like it's being.
Yeah.
Like, I think maybe people were complaining about Poppy and Tora a little bit because he's kind of like a dork about maids. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he's almost like, he reminds me of this friend I had in school that was an otaku. Like, the way he acts and everything, I'm like, man, this guy just reminds me of like an early anime fan in like the mid 2000s, you know?
And Poppy is like becomes a staple character too. And like the evolutions of Poppy are actually kind of cool.
It's just I'm like, man, I almost want to tell people, don't let the fan service comment scare you off, because it hasn't bugged me at all. And I'm usually someone that might be like, not like annoyed, but I'll be like, ugh, when it's too much.
I'm the same.
But
I can't
someone
even
who's
watch
played
those animes. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that. Like, to me, it means that you don't have a strong story. But I feel like them calling out Xenoblades for that, like the story is very strong. It's actually very interesting. So the fan service comments, I think, shouldn't be there.
Yeah, I'm loving that game, and being able to explore those worlds. Like, I'm excited to play 3. I'm kind of holding out on playing it until the Switch 2 version, which is until December, which, hey, might be the best thing for me so I don't get burnt out, because I'm eyeing Xenoblade X right now. And I'm like, you know what?
Yep.
I don't know if I can handle another Xenoblade for 80 hours.
I've been very tempted.
I need a little palate cleanser.
I have that in my cart, and I keep looking at it. I'm like, maybe. Because I did the same thing.
Like,
I played through 1 and 2.
You get it, I might end up getting it.
I played through 1 and 2, and I was like, man, these were great. But I don't want to, like you said, I didn't want to burn out. But now that you've been talking about these, I'm like, maybe it's time to go back to a Xenoblades. The combat does look different, though. So I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, that's something that I was curious about. And I know, like, that game always amazed me, because when I looked at how big that world is and thinking how it ran on a Wii U, I was always kind of impressed.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like, a part of me is like, I should get this, but I'm also sitting here like, well, I've already started Tales of Berseria. I've already started these other games. Like, I could do a Xenobreak, but I'm also like, it's also kind of nice just living in that world. Like, when I first played, I'm like how this is just going into Xenotalk, but
yeah.
when I first played Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, I had always kind of avoided that game because I always thought the world looked kind of, not lame, but it just looked kind of like weird. I'm like, oh, you're on a Titan? Like, that's kind of weird. Like, it aesthetically, it didn't really appeal to me. And then once I played the first one, I was like, oh, this is cool. And then I stayed away from 2 because, the fan service and just other stuff about it. I was like, I don't know. But as I'm playing it, it's just really cool. I like how there's more exploration. There's like just more stuff to see. And some of these areas are just gorgeous. It's insane.
Yeah.
And, like we were saying with the open world, like there's a lot of stuff in these areas that you can kind of find if you want to, but it's not distracting from the story. It's always something I can kind of like run, grab, and get as I'm making my way over to the next place, and then just go on with the story. So, like, I mean, I've also just mostly been playing RPGs this year. So I've been like kind of seeing all different ways like the worlds are kind of like handled. And yeah, I'm loving it. It's cool. I always think back, if there's one kind of game that always kind of bummed me out that didn't have like an overworld to go on, was Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
Because you're on that airship screen and it's like, you can fly to all these places. I'm like, I just want to fly around, man.
Yeah. Like, let me actually fly to those places. Don't just tell me. Don't just make it like a point and click, right? Like, oh man.
Yeah. Like,
if
I don't know.
If they redid 10 like they did with 7, holy crap. I think that would be.
Oh God.
Oh,
Man,
that'd
that
be
would take them
insane.
20 years to make.
Yeah.
They were like saying that they would have to do 6 games if they were, or like 5 or 6 cuts if they were going to do, Final Fantasy 6 remake. And I'm like, you don't need to do that. Just do a 2D HD remake and call it a day. Like,
Yeah.
I think Square has been hitting it out of the park with those kind of games because they've just all been good. And like, I'm super excited for the next Final Fantasy. I think from the little bits I keep seeing of it, it looks amazing.
It really does.
And in general, I think we're still in that kind of golden age, or not golden, because golden was before, but like a new age for like RPGs, because we're seeing like so many be successful, but we're also seeing like older franchises becoming successful again, right? Dragon Quest. Hopefully this Final Fantasy brings it up. The new Suikoden game, which is like a mobile gacha game, but it's only in Japan right now. But because it's such a special franchise to me, I've been really looking into it. I've been trying to translate any of the Japanese like kind of reviews and stuff, because it's in Japan only right now. They're gonna bring it over here. And it just sounds amazing because I guess like the main game, you don't really need to worry about gacha stuff. It's just if you want to do any kind of side content, that's when it makes more of an appearance. So you can play the main game for the most part just fine. And I'm like, man, like, I don't know. RPGs are in a good place right now. And I'm hoping that it just keeps getting better,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to see what else comes out. I'm excited to see how the genres of like things like open world keep evolving, right? Like they are being very responsive to the players, which is nice to see. But at the same time, like who knows where it's gonna go? And yeah, it's a tough question to ask, right? Of like whether you prefer a more linear open world, so like a modular open world game, or like a semi open world, or like full exploration. And I think it really boils down to just like time, because I'm finding myself enjoying more of the semi open world where like there is a very clear path. I can just run to the end. Maybe it's in smaller stages, right? That kind of thing, because time, right? Like if I was a kid, then I want the full Tears of the Kingdom open aspect. Like, let me just do whatever the hell I want. But now, like, I like being able to actually complete a game in a timely manner. So, yeah, I don't know. But it's definitely changed a lot, even since the last time we discussed this. I think that was like one of our first year game or episodes, right? It was open world, or like one of our first like 20.
It was like I was in the first 10 or 20. Yeah, definitely.
So in like 6 years, things have changed this much. So I'm excited to see where it goes from there. Yeah. Gosh, it's crazy to think about. God, insane. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for us this week. Hope you guys have enjoyed this little conversation here into open world games. What do you guys enjoy? What do you prefer? Or what do you think of the state of open worlds as a genre today? Is it even something you're interested in anymore? But yeah, let us know. But with that, that's going to be it for us. We'll talk to you guys next week with some more games and all that good stuff. But until then, bye for now.